So how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I can't complain. I'm alive.
So we're down in the beautiful city of Baltimore.
That's right.
With Clarence Ward III.
That's right.
And Clarence, tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, a little about myself. I'm just a cat born and raised here in the east side of Baltimore, Maryland. Musically, I began playing music in high school at Dunbar High School, roughly around the age of 15. Originally, I'm a woodwind specialist. Started off on flute, moved to saxophone on, went through all woodwinds. Later on, I initially tried trumpet senior year of high school, but I really didn't mess around with it too much. I was on the way to high school. Later on, picked up trumpet and started taking it seriously roughly around the age of 24, 25. I've been doing them both since.
So now, you know, that's a pretty late age to start playing. So what were some of your inspirations?
Well, early on, my early inspirations initially, before jazz, I really knew what jazz was and understood it. I always, whenever my aunt played Dizzy Gillespie, I always loved some jazz.
Yeah.
You know, Miles, Kind of Blue album, that was one of my early loves of jazz as well. But when I got to Dunbar High School, I met Charles Fun. That's a guy I feel I owe everything to, my life, my musical life. I started playing big band jazz, you know, and fooling around with big band, you know, I began to like, Count Basie and Duke Ellington are two of his favorite bands. But early saxophone influence, when he put me on saxophone, when I first played it, he said, "Man, you have that cannonball sound." I'm like, "Cannonball? Oh, what the hell is that?" So then he explained who Cannonball Adderley was, and I remember going to the library back then, looking him up. I got a couple tapes of his back then. And it was just like, wow, he do have a big sound. And after that, you know, I started really learning the alto saxophone. I was given Roy Hargrove's album, The Tokyo Sessions. That was the first album I ever heard of Roy. And I was told, you know, it's a Baltimore saxophonist on this album. That's Antonio Hart.
Right.
And from then on, it was like, whoa, we got a B-more guy here. So I wanted to grab Antonio's sound, but I couldn't get away from Roy Hargrove's trumpet sound and the way that he made me feel. So throughout the years, I'll always listen to a lot of his stuff. And, you know, I'm a saxophone player. I'll listen to saxophone players, but when I wanted to grab Roy's feel and style. But outside of to see Antonio Hart, Cannonball, or my alto, we can't go without saying Charlie Parker.
Exactly. Exactly.
He's the first person we all tend to learn about. Benny Carter, he was one of the first people I heard play trumpet and sax, which made me believe that it could happen. You know, because early on I was told, you know, it's going to mess up my embouchure. And I think that's probably what motivated me to keep doing it, because you can't do that, man. You just can't. You won't sound right. You're going to mess up your sound. And I have, you know, one of the biggest sounds on both instruments around. So spend a life of trying to prove people wrong. You know?
So when I think about Baltimore horn players, one of the people that first come to mind for me, and I was wondering if he was influence on you at all, is Gary Bartz.
Oh yeah, I met Gary when I was in high school. He performed at Dunbar. They had it was a jazz concert, and that was actually one of the first concerts I'd ever really met any big name jazz artist. And he just so happened he let me come out and sit in with him. You know, so that was a great moment. Later on, you know, I would look up his albums, but me being a Roy Hargrove head, you know, he was on one of Roy's albums. Which one was it? The Latin album he played on.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
You know, he played on another earlier album. I think it was The Collective.
Yeah.
Not sure,
I think that Latin album is a Grammy Award winning piece of work.
They sure is. Yeah. So Gary Bartz, I mean, anybody that came from Baltimore, I tried to find them and listen to their stuff. You know, a lot of them I didn't really actually meet and do a whole lot of speaking with, but a lot of the musicians over time, you know, I really didn't know. I met them through the music, though. You know, I know
Exactly.
You know?
And since we're here in the great city of Baltimore, and at this particular venue, I remember the first time I met you. I was here in last October, and interestingly enough, I drove Steve Carrington down here for his first performance at the Keynote Corner. It was a pretty triumphant homecoming for him. But about 25 years earlier, I drove Steve for his first trip to New York.
Really?
Yes, I did.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and but I remember that night Steve came here at this venue, and before I get into my story, I want you to talk a little bit about where we're sitting right now.
Well, where we're sitting right now is the back of Terra Cafe. It's the location where we've had our jazz session here in Baltimore for it's almost 2 years now.
And what nights do you have your sessions?
Every Monday night. Up until quarantine, we never missed a Monday.
And talk about some of the local musicians that came here and play. And I'm not going to allow you to forget the Dorsey kids.
Oh, I can't forget them. Not the Dorseys. They're here more than most cats. You know, so nothing can go on without the young ones. That's part of the reason I keep this going, to bring up that crop of musicians, you know. But a lot of our Baltimore greats musicians, they stop in to hang, listen to the music, coach cats, have a drink, get something to eat and support. You know, Warren Wolf comes out, Sean Jones, he comes out and hang with us often, Chris Fun, Quincy Phillips. I mean, everybody stops in. It's hard when cats come in from out of town. You know, Corey Wallace, he's from Baltimore, but he's living in New York. When he comes to town, he stops in. A host of cats. Everybody know when it's on Mondays, if you're trying to get it in, you gotta come and hang with us over here at Terra Cafe at this session.
So now that you talk about the session, I came here one Monday night in last October, and you and Steve Carrington put on one of the finest jam sessions I've seen in many years. I mean, it was a lot of excitement. It was raucous, and it was reminiscent of the old school jam sessions.
Yeah.
And then having the Dorsey kids here just really made it special.
Yeah.
And I had to come back here and see you, man.
Yeah. I mean, that was a great day for me. Anytime I get to see a cat like Steve Carrington, you know, he's one of the cats that, you know, I look up to as a saxophonist, you know, coming up here in Baltimore as well. You know, as I told you before, I met him, it was my senior year of high school. Heard this big sound down the hall. Went down to check him out. You know, we had a chance to meet and chat. After I left high school, I didn't see him up until, as I told you before, I went to the Army.
Yes.
Army saxophonist. 4 to 5 months after entering the Army, I see Steve Carrington walk in, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So we were like two peas in a pod. We hung out. I was always just trying to get information from him.
Yeah.
He's a great player, represented our town well. And, you know, I hadn't seen him in years.
Yeah.
Actually, I had him on my performance before then, but earlier that year. But even then, it's been years since I had a chance to see him talk to him.
Incredible.
It was good, let alone stand next to him and play.
You know, exactly.
It's like I hadn't played next to him in years, so it was always good to see where I stand. Yeah.
So finally, Clarence, talk about Terra Cafe. Talk about the food. And you know, although we're going through this pandemic and everything, you know, the food is still being prepared.
Yeah.
The food is still being served, and people can just drive up
You sure can.
So talk a little bit about the food.
Hey, man. The food is scrumdiddlyumptious. One of my favorites is the fish dish. Between the fish and the Old Bay wings, man, you can't go wrong.
And give the address here so folks can and swing by.
At 101 East 25th Street here in Baltimore, Maryland. Come on out and hang with us. Right here on the corner of 25th and St. Paul. Can't miss it.
Clarence, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it, man. It's great seeing you again. And I hope to swing back by Baltimore one Monday night for the jam session and a great plate of food.
Hey, man, you're always welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man.